Thank you, Adrian, and thank you for serving as MC of this morning's meeting.
One thing that is too often overlooked is just how volunteer-driven United Way is. Thank you, Adrian and Mark, and all of you who serve on our board of directors. It would be impossible to achieve all we do without your experience and commitment.
We do have one retiring board member whose term is coming to a close, and we'd like to thank him. Joe Conley has been a board member for 9 years. Both Chris and I have known Joe for over 20 years, and we've worked with him throughout the greater Waterbury area on both boards, in professional life with St. Mary's Hospital. And Joe, your integrity, your professionalism, your support goes beyond words. I can't thank you enough for all you've done for this community, for all the time you have dedicated and donated to this community, and especially for the mentorship you have given me. It has been a great privilege to serve with you, Joe. Your contributions both on and off the board have been of great value.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, so much for everything. Whether serving on a visioning committee, communications advisory council, helping with the workplace campaign, or your track record as a loyal contributor, your commitment to United Way has been steadfast. We want to pause this morning to say thank you for all you have done, especially your time on the board.
And on behalf of the board and the community, thank you, Kristen. And thank you, the staff of United Way. The work that goes on behind the scenes may never get to be seen, but they definitely experience the results. The United Way staff is online with us this morning. Thank you, team. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your commitment.
Well said, Mark. Yes, thank you to the United Way team. We are so blessed to have such a wonderful group of people. And we also cannot deliver the results we do without our impact partners, many who are also logged on with us this morning. Thank you for helping us create a community where there is an opportunity for all.
And a special thank you to the volunteers of the Community Impact Cabinet and the councils. Remember, I served on that committee for years. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of dedication. The countless hours you put in to vet our investments and the programs ensure that every dollar invested delivers more than a dollar impacted.
You will find a listing of our staff, volunteers, and partners in our new annual report. If you've not received a link yet, we will be putting one in the chat box soon. A big thank you to Marissa Walker and her entire design team at Works for her creative work on this report. You've done a tremendous job. Thank you.
Looking back on the past year, I'm excited to share that when Campaign Chair Dr. Justin Lumby and my friend, Vice Chair Mike Dorso, asked you to have a direct effect, you responded. But let's not sugarcoat it. It was a very challenging year. Studies have shown that fewer people are giving, but the trends are also showing that those who are giving more. So we know when people understand the impact they have, they're willing to do more.
Yeah. The campaign focused on increasing participation and encouraging those who had the means to give more, is the message we are carrying into the current campaign.
Thank you, Dr. Lumby. Thank you, Mike, for leading the Have a Direct Effect campaign. The unrestricted dollars pledged to the campaign are being leveraged by the volunteers I had just mentioned to deliver the maximum impact. The need is real. As you will see when we take a closer look at the new ALICE report just in.
Understanding drives consideration, and we've undertaken several new initiatives to help educate you about our work. In addition to social media, podcasts, e-newsletters, we've launched a series of Lunch and Learns. Lunch and Learns are a way to access valuable information in our busy lives by bringing compelling speakers to interested audiences with an opportunity to also engage in a live Q&A. We are bringing people inside our work like never before. Many of you have taken your lunch hour and logged in for these live virtual sessions. Topics covering 211, tenants' rights, the homeless response system, and more have provided insights into our work.
We also have launched a series of in-person community impact tours. Most of us will never know what it's like to sleep in a car because there is nowhere else to go. Few of us will ever truly understand the difference between feeling hungry and true hunger. Through these tours, stakeholders and volunteers have been joining us in the field to hear firsthand from partners and clients on the impact they make through their support. Visiting homeless camps, shelters, food pantries, financial stability partners are just some of the experiences we've shared. When you know more, you can do more. We have more Lunch and Learns and Impact Tours coming up and invite you to join us to see the impact you are having through your support.
Yeah, please join us. Our community impact team has done an extraordinary job on this. We continue to look at how diversity, equity, and inclusion fits into our work. A special thank you to our volunteers serving on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for contributing your expertise and insights to guide this ongoing work. One of the outcomes of this work is a special pilot initiative funded in part by IM Bank called the Equity Fund. This fund is designed to support local grassroots nonprofits that are serving our Black and brown communities.
The United for Equity Volunteer Review Team consists of United Way staff and 10 volunteers from the community. They reviewed applications and made funding recommendations for 6 programs. These programs are supporting STEM knowledge, mentoring, and financial literacy training for Waterbury students. They're also training the homeless and the previously homeless individuals for careers in the culinary field. The investment is also providing in-home meals for elderly residents and more.
The mental health of our youth has also become an elevated concern post the pandemic. In an effort to reduce conflict, increase academic success, and produce confident young adults, we've invested in proven mindfulness initiatives to support youth. Through a grant from the Department of Education, so far we have provided mindfulness sessions to 267 youth and 95 staff at 10 schools and organizations in Greater Waterbury. We are already seeing results. 85% said practicing mindfulness helped them learn new ways of problem solving. 83% said practicing mindfulness had taught them new ways to help themselves when faced with a challenging situation.
We continue to produce results across more than 50 programs and initiatives we invest human and financial capital in. This past tax season, we returned over $1.2 million. Let me say that again, because that's an important number. $1.2 million to families making less than $60,000 a year through the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. With an average refund of $1,428, these families were better able to meet the basic needs.
Yeah, that was incredible. Our 18th annual Stock the Pantry engaged 41 companies to help donate over 20,000 pounds to support 8 local food pantries this summer. Food their clients needed to feed their children who lose access to free and subsidized school lunches in the summer.
Volunteers invested hundreds of hours through the Day of Caring, United Way Reads, and more. And our emerging leaders, Upstarters, the Women United, are all engaged throughout our community volunteering, holding events, and more.
You can read about all these efforts in our new annual report. It is truly inspiring what we are achieving together.
Our work is focused on a single mission of helping people, to provide a hand up to those in need, so everyone has an opportunity to succeed. To stay on top of what is needed, we need to understand what is happening in the community. One of those tools we use to achieve that is the United Way Alice Report. Released every 2 years, the Alice Report takes a look at the hard data related to those individuals who are living above the poverty level but below the minimum cost to make ends meet in Connecticut.
To tell us more, please welcome James R. Whitley, Dean of John P. Burke School of Public Service and Education at Post University, who will take us inside the new 2023 Alice Report. As we continue, we encourage you to comment and keep the discussion going in the chat box.
Thank you, Kristen and Mark. It's been a pleasure serving on the board of the United Way of Greater Waterbury with you both. Thank you for joining me for this special presentation on Alice. I would like to thank Platinum Corporate Sponsors, Savings Bank of Danbury, for sponsoring this segment. What is the toll on families who can't make ends meet? And how can we share an accurate view of that toll to help struggling individuals and families? This year, United Way released the latest Alice Report, adding to the data that has been collected and shared for the past 8 years, enabling us to reliably understand what it costs to live in our communities. ALICE is an acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed, and describes families and individuals who make more than the poverty level, but less than the minimum threshold to make ends meet in Connecticut. Although clearly struggling, many at the ALICE threshold earn too much to be eligible for public assistance. Often essential workers who have no savings and are living at risk for increased financial instability, these people are our neighbors, friends, and family. We can use this data to inform action in the 20-plus states that are part of the ALICE movement. The report provides detailed insights right down to the town level. The first 4 findings are from the 2023 ALICE report. The final finding is informed by a tool called the ALICE Essentials Index, something we're deploying this year with our partner, United for ALICE. I cannot overemphasize the value that this information has as we use it to improve lives. Let me lead you through these findings. We know financial hardship exists, but the value of the ALICE report is in the hard numbers. Nearly 40% of households in our state are ALICE. Take a moment to let that sink in. Connecticut is lower than the national average and 1 percentage point higher than in 2018. However, ALICE jumped from 28% of the state's households in 2007 to 39% in 2021. There was no recovery from the Great Recession for ALICE households. Let me bring it home to Greater Waterbury. Take a moment to find your hometown or the town where your friends and family live. Having a job does not guarantee financial stability. ALICE lives everywhere. Note that childcare is the largest line item in the household survival budget for a single adult, and a family of 4 with 2 working parents, 1 infant, and 1 preschooler. Look at the wages needed to support basics and realize how few of our essential workers meet that income level. You can see that the data lags because of the logistics involved with data collection. Realize that the temporarily increased federal child tax credit and child and dependent care credits have expired. Traditional public assistance does not reach all people in households that are struggling financially. Due to income and assets limits, most ALICE households are not able to participate in public assistance. In 2021, the federal poverty level for a single person was equal to $12,880. And for a family, it was $26,500. And in that year, only 12% of people living below the ALICE threshold in Connecticut received general assistance support. United for ALICE estimates that 45% of Connecticut households living below the ALICE threshold with children did not receive the enhanced federal child tax credit. Also, the Urban Institute and Brookings Institute Tax Policy Center notes that while the tax credit was temporarily expanded and renewed for 2021, it benefits only a small share of parents. Did you notice items that were not on the budget I just showed you? There is no line item for the clothing needed to present a professional appearance, and no money for after-school activities so children can participate in sports or benefit from other hobbies. Something else not on that budget: emergency savings. In November 2021, only 41% of households below the ALICE threshold had enough rainy day funds to cover 3 months of expenses. When faced with a hypothetical expense of $400, 63% of all adults in 2022 said they would have covered it exclusively using cash or equivalents. The remainder said they would have paid by borrowing or selling something, or said they would not have been able to cover the expense. What could or would you sell to keep your car on the road and avoid a job loss? This table is an excerpt from a data set that looks at the 20 most common occupations in Connecticut in 2021. Given that wages had stagnated for a decade, many of the most common jobs still had a substantial percentage of workers who lived below the ALICE threshold in 2021. For a family of 4 with 2 small children, the 2 adults would need 2 full-time jobs at $27 per hour each to make ends meet. That's $54 an hour. Think of the people who do these jobs and how we depend on them. We continue to see significant disparities by race and gender in the ALICE data. Black and brown families and female-headed households with children disproportionately live below the ALICE threshold. In 2021, the largest number of households below the ALICE threshold were white, making up 33% of all white households. You can read the numbers before you to see that while the number of struggling households was lower for smaller population groups, the percentage of those households living below the ALICE threshold was disproportionately higher. The pandemic both exacerbated the disparities as well as exposed them. We could see with startling clarity that hardships are experienced at different rates. During the pandemic, we stepped up to help each other, but some of that support had an expiration date. It's startling to realize that we saw the greatest reduction in the rates of childhood poverty and the greatest reduction in the poverty rates between white children and families and black and brown children thanks to enhanced federal tax credits. Prices have increased dramatically at a time when help expired. The ALICE report does a good job of analyzing data, helping us to draw conclusions and look forward. This slide demonstrates that projection and the negative impact that United Way is seeking to mitigate as we help ALICE. Not only are costs increasing, but a line graph of the household budget over time shows the dramatic rate of increase. The same decade that saw wages stagnate has seen budgets almost double. With the cost of basics climbing higher and ALICE wages failing to keep up, workers have lost buying power. For a retail salesperson in Connecticut, the sustained lag behind the actual cost of basic goods equates to nearly $42,500 over the last 15 years, more than a full year's earnings. The value of studies like this are that when we know more, we can do more. We can look at steps to set vulnerable families on a firmer foundation. And if we do that, the benefits will help families thrive and reach their potential. United Way of Greater Waterbury is creating opportunities to help increase the financial stability of ALICE families. From financial coaching through Trust Plus, coaching and job training through the Financial Opportunity Center, returning over $1.2 million to local low-income families through volunteer income tax assistance, and filling budgetary gaps through food pantries and other basic needs, United Way is working to help stabilize families. When we know more, we can do more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for taking action through your support of United Way.